We can still do a little workup. We didn't do a workup while I was recording, so Shane, we're just about ready to start. Jonathan has got the music going in his head, which is good. You can hear those vibes coming through.
Everyone grooves to their own.
You gotta get the vibes going, and I'll be pushing out all sorts of stuff. Here we go. So the first half, I'll let Jonathan just talk. Then I'm going to come back with life and success principles. We'll talk about at least 3. Okay. So be thinking about those while you're talking to Jonathan. Here we go.
Cool.
Welcome to WP-Tonic, episode 2006-81 on timelines. It's Saturday morning, so it's all about WordPress. Today we have Shane McLaughlin. He is over in Thailand, but Shane, you're originally from somewhere in Europe, either Germany, Austria. We've been on the show, episode 90.
So close.
Switzerland.
Yeah.
Which one of those countries?
Yeah, Switzerland.
Switzerland, that's right.
Yeah.
I like Switzerland. They don't get invaded.
Yeah. Okay.
They're like the only European countries like it hasn't been invaded like in at least 1,000 years.
They also don't do anyone's invading. I feel like the Swiss strategy is basically, we don't do anything and we have all of your money. So just keep that in mind.
You think with all that money that we go and invade you to get that money, or
yeah, well, but it's your money already.
Yeah,
like, you can just withdraw it,
That would be a bit illogical, wouldn't it?
Well, people don't realize they thought this was about WordPress, but this is about the world economy now. So we're talking about
Yeah, there are. But I was very impressed, Bill. Actually, American outside geography is not that impressive, is it? Bill, is it?
So Germany and Austria, it's like 2 near misses. That's pretty good.
I remember I was limited at one time when I was a younger officer in the military, even going into Austria. I could go into Austria, but I was a special forces officer. So there's a limit by treaty of where we can even go. I had to get permission to go to Innsbruck, and I definitely couldn't go to Switzerland.
Well, it's very wise. You can be dangerous.
They kept me out of Switzerland.
All right, then, Shane. So thank you for coming on the show. It's your second time you've been on the madness. But we're doing a month around graphics and online marketing and why graphics are really important for your landing page. And being that you're the joint owner of Thrive Themes, and it's all about landing pages and that, and I think you're one of the most knowledgeable people I know around online marketing. I thought you would be the right guest to have a chat about this. So
yeah, let's do it.
So let's start off. So how important it is in 2016 to have good graphics linked to good landing pages? So
first of all, I would say that I wouldn't try to think of it in terms of good graphics, but rather think of it as good design, because you can have a good graphic and throw it on a page and it can still be a horrible page. But also let's try and think about what's the purpose of that in the first place. If we're talking about the design of a page or the design of a website, what's the point? What's the purpose? And what I like to focus on is the direct conversion purpose, because obviously design has a branding purpose. It gives your site a character, and I think traditionally design has been a lot about branding. But I think for most people, especially if we're talking about small business, startup, solopreneur type, if we're talking about, like, let's say that corner of the internet, the most important thing to focus on is just the direct effectiveness, direct usefulness of the design on your site. So essentially, the design of a page, design of your website should serve the conversion. And yeah, I think there are a couple of important things there, but that's like the most important, I'd say the highest level thing to look at is does this serve the conversion goal? Does this help if I'm adding a design element or I'm changing the design or something like that? Does this help drive people towards a conversion goal? That's the first and most important thing I would ask.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I've read of quite a few. Obviously, Google doesn't kind of publicize it to some extent, but a lot of people say you really should have graphics in your articles and your posts, and if you don't do that, you're going to get slightly penalized by Google. Did you agree with that at all, or do you think it's so marginal it doesn't really matter?
I think mostly I don't care about it. So I used to have an SEO focus, and I used to do a lot of the search engine optimization, all that, and chasing after specific keywords and all that. I don't do any of that anymore. And when it comes to content, I create my content for humans. And really to the degree, if I create a piece of content and I decide that, or even maybe test with usability tests and so on, I determine this is the way it is, this is the way it's best for people. It's the most readable, most engaging, most interesting, most useful for the human readers. Even if Google comes along and says, no, you should do this and remove that and to get higher rankings. Well, I don't care. I don't want your rankings if it makes my content less useful or less readable for people. So that's my focus has basically shifted away completely from machines. If incidentally I can add some SEO tags and stuff like that, that's fine, right? I still do that. I still add, a meta title and meta description, all that, because that's incidental. It doesn't interfere with the human beings on my website. But when it comes to, adding or not adding images to a page, I don't care what Google thinks. Yeah. I would say though, and I know that Google happens to agree with this, is when it comes to adding graphics to content, for example, you'll notice if you kind of watch web design, then there's been a very strong trend in the last few years towards flat design. Yeah. So, and if someone's listening and not familiar with flat design, it's basically instead of having stuff look sort of realistic with gradients and shadows and things like that, stuff has just become flatter and, let's say, more cartoon-like. One of the reasons why this is a good thing is because flat, simple images with fewer colors and things are smaller, right? In the data size of such an image is smaller. And that means it loads faster. And so what I recommend everyone does for graphics and images on their website is that you compress them. The service I recommend for doing this is called Kraken. It's kraken.io. Yeah, very good. And you basically upload an image there. The image gets optimized. It basically visibly barely changes, but sometimes the file size is often 50 to 80% smaller, which basically means you can have images on your page, and that can be in a blog post or a sales page or whatever it is, and it will load a lot faster. And that's important, right? That's important for your human visitors because no one likes to wait for a web page to load. And Google agrees, so it's also good for your rankings. So that's something I highly recommend you do. And it's also something that's, at Thrive Themes, this is very important to us. So we actually built this into our themes. There's a feature you can turn on where every image you upload is automatically compressed through the Kraken Premium service, so that you don't have to manually do that, because that's something that, that's one of the things that it's very important to us to have fast websites, again, because that just makes the website much, much better for the user. And it also leads to higher conversion rates. Like generally people enjoy using fast websites and they will buy more from a fast website than from a slow one.
Yeah, definitely will. I know you've got a business arrangement with a hosting provider, which is fine. At WP-Tonic, we're big supporters of the DigitalOcean. But I totally agree with you around hosting. I think really cheap hosting really is a bit of a killer, isn't it? With a modern WordPress, unless it's a very bog standard, very small website, your normal average hosting on WordPress, on anybody that really wants to get a result, it's going to be a bit challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fine to, if you're on a really tight budget, I think it's fine to start out with. But as soon as you actually start getting some traffic, as soon as that business starts rolling, that's one of the biggest speed fixes, is moving from a low budget shared hosting kind of thing to a proper more serious hosting
because
solution.
I do maintenance, and when I look at the statistics, I notice with shared hosting, it goes up and down a lot.
Yeah.
It's up, it really is. It very, you can get really, I won't name names. There's some that just dog slow all the time. But what you do see is a lot of up and down. And that's part of the, shared hosting, isn't it? That's a consequence of new sites they're putting on that server. So now when it comes to conversion, I thought you'd be the person because of five themes. It's about making landing pages that convert. So in the themes that you've developed in-house, what have you seen? What is the kind of difference in conversion you can get with having the right graphics with the right message? I know it's a broad question, but can you give any kind of insights about that at all?
Well, I mean, we could. You can't. It's something you can't generalize, right? I can't say, if you improve the design. You'll
Sorry for the question. It was a little bit unfair, but I thought I had to ask.
Yeah. No, I think it's good because the thing is, let's say for marketing purposes, this kind of thing gets paraded around quite a lot, right? Someone will come along and say, we found the layout that increases conversions by 50%. No, you didn't. You did one case study where a change caused this, and you don't even you can't just claim that this is a change that will work for everyone the same way. It doesn't work that way, right?
It's a little bit what's the word? Incontagious. It's not. They're not exactly. You're not exactly lying, but they're not exactly giving you the whole picture, are they?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, what I can say is, one of the things I do quite a lot is I do website reviews, and also basically I try to find ways to take a look at websites that our users are building and landing pages our users are building and opt-in forms and so on, so that I get an idea of how our users are actually using our products and what we can do to make them better. And one of the big things, or let me actually name two of the big things that I very often see.
Name one thing, and then we name the second when we come back from our break. How does that work?
All right. Okay. So two big things, two big fixes that I most commonly see, as where I can see, okay, these are the two things you can do to fix this landing page, in terms of the design of the landing page to make this a better, higher converting page. So the first one would be just the readability. Okay. And I think a mistake there is when you pay more attention to the look of something than how easy it is to read. So, you might have a font that looks really fancy, that looks nice, that pleases you, let's say, the way it looks, but it's difficult to read a lot of text in that font, right? It doesn't flow nicely. And that's a big mistake. To use that then, right?
Yeah. So
another example of that would be if you have bright text on a dark background. Now, if you have bright text on a dark background, let's say in one text box that kind of grabs attention, it looks different, that's fine. But if you have multiple paragraphs of bright text on dark background, that really strains the eye to read.
Yeah.
And so that's a very basic change, or a very basic thing you need to pay attention to, is how readable is this text? Because no matter how good your message is, if people don't want to read it, it doesn't matter. That's it. Your message fails before it can do its job if people don't want to read your text.
That's
So what I'd recommend.
We'll go to our break first, Shane, right, and then you can come back and finish off. So we're going to our break, folks.
Okay, we're coming back from our first break with Shane. Shane's going to finish up his thought after we interrupt him for the break, and then we're going to go to his life and success principles.
Yes, I'm sorry, Shane. I kind of had to cut you in mid-flow, didn't I? So can you gather your thoughts again? So you were talking about font choices, and you put fonts. You've got to think about the readability.
So readability.
You were talking about your boxes with your different kind of little font not have too many?
So readability. No, I didn't actually use it. I just want to see you squirm for a bit. But so with readability, what I can recommend you do is basically stick to the simpler fonts, especially for your actual paragraph text font. It's fine to have maybe a fancier looking headline font, but for your actual chunks of text, stick to the boring and proven fonts. Open Sans, Arial, Roboto, Verdana, Georgia. Those aren't like special. They don't make your website look special, but they are very, very readable. And also make sure that you have good line height and a good contrast. Don't have light gray text on a white background. Not everybody's eyesight is perfect, right? So that's to make sure it's readable. The second thing that's an easy fix is pay attention to the visual hierarchy of your page. So everything that is designed on your page communicates visual hierarchy. That includes the text, the size and contrast of text, like maybe large headlines, smaller subheadings, things like that. It includes images, graphics, maybe things like background images, background colors, but also images in the foreground or images of arrows pointing to things. It includes buttons, button colors, contrast, size, and so on. All of this communicates visual hierarchy. And what visual hierarchy means is that essentially one of the ways, if you kind of take a step back and you squint your eyes and you look at the page, what are the things that stand out the most? Because visual hierarchy is basically what does size, color, contrast, and position tell me about how important this thing is on the page? And that should be in line with how important that thing actually is. For example, if you have a headline and you want your visitor, the first thing you want them to do is you want them to see that headline and read that headline. That's the most important part of the page. Well, the size, contrast, and color of that headline should make that clear. And if a typical mistake is maybe you have a headline that isn't that big, it's not that bold, it's next to like a huge image, and that image is drawing more attention than the headline. But the headline is communicating something more important than the image. So there's a conflict in visual hierarchy. The visual hierarchy is telling me, look at this image, but actually that image isn't that important, right? So you want to make sure that the most important things on your page, the things that you want people to pay the most attention to, are also the most noticeable things on your page. And that's the idea of visual hierarchy. So that's another easy fix. Another example of this going wrong is, for example, if you have a page where your main goal is maybe a buy now button, right? You want people to click on that button to go into the next step of the purchase funnel. But then you have like these huge social media buttons that are colorful and big, and your buy now button is kind of shy and small. And so the visual hierarchy says the social media buttons are more important than this little button down here. But really, you probably want people to buy your thing more than you want them to send a tweet, right? So that, again, would be an example of visual hierarchy being wrong on a page.
Yeah, I think this is such great advice, and thanks, Shane. I think my observation is that this isn't easy, actually, is it? The principles, you communicate the principles very effectively, but what I mean by not easy, it's applying them in a consistent way. It's a bit like copywriting. You get a lot of very good print copywriters, but to actually get to the essence of a product and service in as few words as possible to capture the people and so they read more, they go deeper into the website, is art. There are some good copywriters, but also there's a lot of indifferent copywriters. And it's a bit like design as well, to work out your visual hierarchy, like it takes thought, doesn't it? And it takes consideration. Would you agree with those statements?
There's a lot of nuance to it. And what I've found from working with different designers is that web designers are generally undereducated in this kind of thing. So if you take any kind of web designer, they're usually good at creating pages that look nice, but they usually don't have a lot of education, this kind of thing, when it comes to things like visual hierarchy and what that means, and making a page that doesn't just look nice, but also has these conversion elements, let's say, which is also, the whole reason why we started Thrive Themes, really, because we saw all this WordPress stuff, themes and landing pages and plugins that have this focus on design. They all look nice, but
that's a good lead in. Let's hit the timeline portion real fast, which is about business. We're going to talk about 5 minutes about business, give you a commercial, and then we'll close up the podcast so we can get to the real beefy stuff on YouTube and on Blab so we can actually look at some sites. By the way, Sean, I put up your site while you're talking so we could look at it. So I thought when we come back, maybe we can analyze your site first. It's like it's not that landing page, but that welcome page. So hey, let's go into the business side. Running a business. How long have you been running a business so far?
I'm not sure. 7 years, maybe.
Okay, that's good. Did it take like 2 years to get going? I mean, it seems I've started two businesses. It's always taken about 2 years to really get it going.
Yeah, I would say that's about right. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years of hard work where you don't make much and it starts happening. So I want to go back to that, but let's talk about your success and life principles as my Labrador is barking outside, and you can probably hear that. So the first one you put up is 20 miles marching.
Yeah. Yeah. So 20-mile march it's about consistency, right? It's you do the same amount every day. And instead of like doing too much on some days and then not having enough energy to do on other days, it's huge. That's where people fall short. And I think it is. And one of the things that made me realize how important the 20-mile marching is that while I'm building these businesses, usually it feels like everything's going way too slow while it's happening. It feels like we're not making progress, feels like it's taking us too long to get the next product out, taking us too long to sort out these problems and so on. But if you look at the growth of the business is actually growing extremely well. If you look at how much has happened in the last 5 years, it's actually crazy how much growth and how much change there has been. But in every individual moment, it seems like things aren't moving fast enough. So, and I think that's where people fall short, right? They make an effort and it seems like, I'm not getting anywhere, and they stop. And then maybe they start something new and they make an effort there and then they stop again. But it's just like this relentlessly marching. And just doing your thing. And if you have the capacity to do that for years and years, that's a good way to build success.
Yeah, if you work long enough and keep on sharpening the sword, like you talked about later, I think you enhance your probability of success so much more. So the next thing you have is skill building, which fits right into what you just said.
Yeah. So that's been, for me, that's been the most important thing. Is at some point in my life, I realized that I'm not doomed to failure because I was bad at school and I was bad at everything basically. And at some point I realized that wasn't just my lot in life, that I could actually, by consistently working on things, I could get better at things. And so in very simple terms, you can look at where you are right now in your life, and you can look at where you want to go in life. And the steps in between there are built by skills, right? Whatever it is, whatever skills you want to have, maybe you want to build interpersonal skills, maybe you want to learn practical skills, maybe you want to learn communication skills, maybe you want to learn how to build a business, maybe you want to learn how to do whatever. But it's these things that will help you get to where you want to go. And the way you build skills is by 20-mile marching on those skills, essentially. And
the last one really is contrary, but it doesn't fit to the 20 miles, but it says no life balance.
Yeah, so I don't have, I'm not a great work-life balance guy, but that's because, to large part, that's because I'm incredibly passionate about my work. The work I do is my favorite thing to do, and it's like my mission in life. So, right now I'm in Thailand, but I'm not like traveling around Thailand and I'm not posting like selfies on Instagram every day from the backs of elephants and whatnot, because mainly I just live here and I really enjoy living here, but I work every day, right? And I'm just working in a nicer environment, but I still work every day. This is what I do. This is what I love doing. So, and it's especially in the beginning, for the first few years, I didn't have a life. I was just work, right? Which is probably not healthy, but it's a good way to get a business off the ground.
All the greats, that's one trait, and I've interviewed a lot of folks, and you look at them all, and I've studied them, and all the greats like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, whoever they are, I think, have that same philosophy. They're not worried, believe it or not, early on, they're not worried about life balance. They're worried about getting their business going, success, and getting forward. Once you get successful, bank some money, maybe you can contract out, and even then they're still working hard. Look at Elon Musk. He's the hardest worker you ever find. He's doing so many different things, and his brother. Yeah. So, hey, very good, Shane. With that, we're going to go to a break. We're going to come back. We're going to give a quick commercial, give your commercial, how the listener can get in contact with you. Then we'll ask one last question and shut this down and open it up on YouTube and Blab, because we've got a lot of people on Blab. About 87 people have come through. We've got 24, 25 people watching right now. And it gets more fun, I think, even after we get done with this darn podcast. Okay, a couple seconds of silence. Okay, Shane, we're coming back from the break, and we want to thank you for all the information you've laid out in front of us. But there's a lot more to the show when we get done with this darn podcast. But what we want to know now is, listener, how can the podcast listener get a hold of you?
Sure. The best place to go is thrivethemes.com. So it's thrivethemes, one word, .com. Because basically the design problem I was talking about before that's the reason we started Thrive Themes, is we saw that you can get a lot of WordPress themes and plugins and things that are basically made with a design focus, that they help you make a nice website. What I wanted to build for my businesses is a good website, one that basically converts people into subscribers and buyers. And I couldn't find that, so we built them ourselves. And basically, it's a design expert and a conversion expert built into a bunch of plugins and themes. That's what you get at thrivethemes.com.
Yeah, I like to say it's a plugin that I use myself, and it's a fantastic system, and the support from Shane's team is excellent, and it's just a fantastic product. And I would say to anybody, try it. I highly endorse it, as they say.
Excellent. Well, Jonathan, the very first site we will review this week will be Thrive Themes after the podcast.
I'd like him to actually look at Melaugh. I'm asking him to look at his own website. It's a bit hard, but
we'll do his own website. You and I will do it, and then we'll do Melaugh. And
we look at his and he can respond. That'd be funny, wouldn't it?
So, folks, you have to drive on over to timelinesofsuccess.com, episode 206, or WP-Tonic, episode 81.
Yeah, so I've got one last question before we go over to the suicide section, Shane.
I like the new suicide section. I like where we destroy your website.
Obviously, as your business, one of your answers to Bill's questions, you talked about the 20-mile march and learning. Mm-hmm. But, in Seth Golgan's book, The Dip, we always, learning is quick, and then we hit a wall. We hit where it becomes really, really tough. Have you got any insights about how you personally have managed to keep yourself motivated to get through the dip when you've had the challenge of not only doing your normal day-to-day business, but you're having to learn a new skill, a new ability? You got any kind of insights or tips for our audience?
Yeah, so I think the two to start with are just two mindset things. And the first is, be aware that this is normal, because I think a problem is when this happens and you think, oh God, I'm a failure. This is really hard for me now. I should stop, right? If you just realize this is normal, this is going to happen. In fact, when you start with something, you expect the dip, you know that it's coming. And so instead of it being this big shock, it's like, oh, here it is. That helps. And the second thing is just a mindset thing. So now you know that this is normal. This happens to everyone. The second thing you need to know is this is where almost everyone fails. And so you knew that this would happen coming into it. You made a decision that you wanted to build this skill, or that you wanted to accomplish this goal that you're working towards. Here is the dip as you knew it would happen. You know that here's where almost everyone fails. Question is, are you almost everyone? And for me, this is a very powerful motivator. It probably doesn't work for everyone, but for me, this is the point of differentiation. Everybody makes it to the dip, right? Now you're still swimming with the crowd. You haven't done anything yet. Everybody makes it this far. Question is, are you going to make it further? This is the point of differentiation. You're not special for having started something new, right? Everybody starts writing a book. You're special for finishing writing a book. And this is the point of separation, right? If you want to prove that you're actually doing something, if you want to be different, if you want to take this further than everyone else who just talks about it all day or dreams about it, this is the point you've been waiting for. Here is where you prove it.
I think that's a very powerful statement. My only other two things I would like to add to it that is try and break it up into realistic achievement goals, so you can reach a goal, a sub goal of the main goal, and it's a little bit encouraging if you can do that. And the other thing I would say is be a bit compassionate with oneself.
Sure.
That voice, I don't know if you're the same, but I'm very critical about my performance, a lot more critical than I am with other people. I tend to make excuses for other people that I don't make for myself, and I can become very uncompassionate about my performance. And it's fine. You should be realistic, but there's a level where it becomes slightly destructive, doesn't it?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, this is something I really had to learn as well. Is self-acceptance, really, right? Accepting thing, and this is in general in self-development. I think this is the biggest thing you can do is get to the point where you can be both ambitious and driven to perform extremely well, but also accepting of where you are right now, and to see that those aren't mutually exclusive, where you can say, look, I really want to be better than this. I want to be more disciplined and so on. But right now, this is where I'm at, and that's fine. And this is where I'm starting from, and I'm just going to do a little better every day. I think it's very important.
Shane, that's a really great way to wrap up the podcast portion. And we'll put that at the front. That was excellent, the last few words. But with that said, remember, you can find us at timelinesofsuccess.com, WP-Tonic, and today you can drive on over to impact.com and find your site. With that, let's go to the fun part. We're going to get off the podcast and into YouTube and Blab, and I can't wait to tear apart your site.
All right, let's do it.
Well, me and Bill are.
Quiet for a second. I didn't even pause it. I just wanted that gap to find it. Very good. We say pretty much within time limits. I do this daily, and by 12, I'm done with the packaging and everything. I've got to keep the podcast like under 30 minutes because it's just a time management thing. And it comes out better too if it's short, like 25 minutes. Hey, we're going to stay on. Let's unbutton this. But the first, I would like to talk about your site. I'm going to hit it first, Jonathan. You hit it, and then we'll let Shane talk about it. Anybody else want to come up and talk about it? Impact Shane. So when I come up on that, the first thing I see, it's sort of like a welcome gate, but it's not a welcome gate because you're sliding up. I guess you'd call it that. A welcome gate, somebody will it pops up and you have to get through it. This is like a welcome gate, but not a welcome gate. I like that. It's flat, like you said. I love the colors. Back in WordCamp LA, they were talking about your colors being the really good colors for compliance on handicap access. On
hold on, which website are we talking about?
I'm on Impact right now. Do you know another one to look at? Impact. I just dropped it in the right hand side. It's got a picture of you. And it looks like the only, folks, it's in the right-hand side if you want to look at it. It looks like the only thing it's not flat is your logo. You got a little glisten in your logo that's not flat, but everything on the page looks flat. And what I really like, I think I really like it, I like you get the home button, which is really neat. A lot of people don't put home buttons on. The blog is good about. Well, interesting, the blog is the second button, so you don't drop on the blog. And I like the free stuff. And that's the only pull down you have, it looks like. Yeah, the free stuff's the pull down. Mm-hmm. So when I hit that free stuff, do I have to put in my name and email and all that good stuff? Yeah.
Yep.
So tell us about how you built your site. What are the elements of it?
This is running off of one of the Thrive themes, obviously. And the idea of the homepage is, I'm a big advocate of not using a blog page as your homepage. So your homepage should be a landing page, right? And above the fold, we're basically trying to keep it simple. We're trying to communicate what this site is about. I have a video, which most people don't watch, obviously, but if someone sees this and goes, I want to know more, they can play the video. And it's kind of very clearly communicated that there's a video here. And then I want to advertise my primary conversion goal, and that's the blue section is a call to action to sign up to a thing, right? Which is also an example of about the maximum of, you know, dark background white text that you should have, right? I have basically a pre-heading, a heading, and one paragraph. That's it. If I had multiple paragraphs of text in here, we would be non-compliant with the readability rule, right? And then if you don't want to convert, then I'm saying, all right, well, check out some of my posts, right? And you can easily find my latest and most popular posts. And then if you still keep reading, then I'm saying, well, maybe you're interested in the person behind this. So this is a big mistake that people often make, is that they talk about themselves or their brand or their product too soon. So I basically wait for a visitor to scroll all the way down this page before I say, okay, maybe you want to know something about me. There's 2 paragraphs about me and the link to the About page with more.
Oh, very good. Yeah, that's a lot into it. I know I've got to get off that. A traditional podcaster, that's how I started. So we always have like our blog page of the podcast is the thing. But as I start trying to monetize the show, I probably have to go to a landing page like you have here. Now that's in your theme. Is that your theme built around that, or is there anything unique about it? Does it?
This is self-built, yeah. So this is basically a theme page, but I built all of the stuff with Thrive Content Builder.
Oh, the content builder. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think you're giving a really logical outline I expected. Was there any kind of discussion in your mind about so much of the pre-fold area being taken up with a picture of yourself and the video? Was there any discussion in your mind that so much of the actual pre-fold area was going to be taken up with that?
Well, no, but I ran some tests, but actually I haven't tested this page in quite a long time. So, or at least I haven't tested it. I tested the opt-in form a while back, but like the main layout here was tested probably 2 years ago or more. And at the time I tested a couple of different layouts, and this was the one that won. Because yeah, in general, sure, you want to make sure that you don't use your above the fold space too wastefully. Here, I'm using it for a video or for a call to watch a video, which and the video, if people watch it, is a great way to cram a lot of content into the above the fold, right? But yeah, basically, instead of like wondering about it, test it.
And also, would I be correct in this assumption while you did this, is that a lot of the traffic that gets to the website is really driven by articles, people doing a search under your name, people actually coming from, you know, direct search for you, your articles, and they're coming to the site. So they recognize, they probably have some recognition of you. So rather than just general search terms, would that be right as well?
Yeah, I mean, you want to think, for any page, you want to think about who is the audience for this page. And for the home page, it's actually often the second page someone sees. So if someone comes to your site and they read a post, they might, from a search term or something, they find a post, they read that post, and then they go, this is a cool site. If they liked it, what else is there? Often they will either go to the home page or the about page next. So here, that's why, you basically want to build the page with that in mind. So that's why here, what I want to do is, and because also this is kind of a personal blog, it makes sense to have me here because, and I appear on video a lot. So again, it makes sense to have a video with me in it on the homepage because that's what you find in most of my content. And that's essentially personal branding, right? Like the fact that it's me doing this is part of the selling point. And so that's why I have it on the homepage like this.
We've got a question from David. How long is your video, Shane? I would play with the CTA for people to watch the video. They may fear that short is not what they would consider short.
Oh yeah, that's something I tested as well. I tested adding 2 different ways of adding how long it is. I think it's something like 3 minutes or 2 minutes, something like that. I don't know. But I tested this as well in the subheading to add the exact time, or a statement like less than something minutes, less than 2 minutes, less than 3 minutes. But in this case, this one won, which is actually unexpected, because often if you can make a specific claim, watch this video and then in brackets 38 seconds to see what it's about. I think the problem with that claim, so a specific claim in a statement is usually good. I think the problem with video specifically is that people have very, very little attention. And if you tell them this is a 3-minute video, they go, nah, I'm not going to watch a 3-minute video. Whereas if you don't tell them and they start the video and the video is interesting, they might watch it for 20 minutes, right? But if you tell them, hey, I need you to commit 3 minutes of your life to this before you click, they're going to say no. So unless you can say that your video is under a minute long, advertising it might be counter effective. However, as always, don't take my word for it, test it.
And it's quite funny, on one of your other pages, I might go slightly off topic here, but I just got to ask you, on one of your other pages, you got ask, are you giving away too much for free in your content marketing? So do you think that is a general problem? People tend to give away too much for free in their content marketing?
No, I think people tend to give away the wrong things sometimes. And I think there's some confusion caused by, there's definitely been a rise in epic content, in basically huge content. And one of the reasons for that has been that there's been data showing that longer content does better, right? Gets more social shares, gets higher search engine traffic, blah, blah, blah. And so I think a lot of people are looking for ways to create content that's super long. And if you also sell products, and that's specifically, especially if you sell information products, that can be a problem, because if you're now posting your 20,000 word posts every week, then what's left to sell, right? You're giving away all your information. What you sell to people, what happens to your business? And so I made this post to address that specific problem for information marketers.
Yeah, the observation of is of your website is that you're obviously, I'll be surprised it wasn't a strength, but is that you've got a great balance between the actual level of content you got on each page and the value you give. And what I mean by that is sometimes you can get a lot of text on a page, but when you really read it, there really isn't much real value there. Where you, like on your section recommended, you got a lot of it's a well balanced page, but you got a lot of information as well, that you're giving to people. So the main conversion, apart from the courses you might be selling, is to get them on the mailing list. Is that correct?
Yeah, here that would be the main conversion goal. However, I also have to say that this is not a great case study site, actually, because I Am Impact is not a business.
Yeah,
I Am Impact is like a blog that sometimes I post to when I have some random thoughts about marketing. It's not, this is not a polished content marketing strategy, funnel setup thing, business. It's just like a blog that I post to sometimes. So don't overanalyze. Don't overanalyze. I Am Impact.
No, we're not going to. But one of the reasons why me and Bill, I think it's still a good choice is that it's not overdone. So I think you've got some great stuff because obviously it comes from you, but it's totally achievable by the average person. If they looked at your site, read your articles, and really studied how you applied them on your own website, it's not overwhelming, and the average person with a bit of practice could achieve just the same, really, I feel.
Yeah.
If they really read your articles and looked at and bought your product maybe as well, they could achieve something similar, couldn't they?
Yeah, I mean, and that's also something where, sure, you could make this website look a lot nicer, by hiring a custom designer and getting custom graphics made and all that kind of stuff. But it's not necessary, because I'm basically using the stock, one of our stock themes, almost no customization. And because, again, my focus is on effectiveness. I want this to be readable and effective rather than super fancy. So it doesn't have custom designs and layouts. It doesn't do anything special, right? All it does is delivers content effectively in a way that's easy to consume, which is, something anyone can do. Basically, if you buy this specific theme, which is called Focus Blog, and you install it, this is what your website will look like, and that's good.
Yeah, I think it was still good. Yeah, we could have gone to 5 themes, but obviously that's a pure business. I thought that Bill's choice of looking at your was more achievable for the person starting, myself.
For sure, yeah.
Right,
hey, Jonathan,
shall we go now?
We had a question. What do you use for your own hosting services, and what do you recommend?
Those are 2 different questions.
Okay, I'll answer both of them. They're both good questions, though. I have this.
So we're currently with Liquid Web Storm on Demand for, which is expensive and complicated, and took us a long time to get it to the point where we're more or less satisfied with it. And which is where you shouldn't start, because it's also prohibitively priced, right? What I recommend to start with is Traffic Planet Hosting, which is, one of these WordPress specialized hosting solutions, and it's priced in a way, a lot of these specialized WordPress hosts start at like $100 a month or something, which can be prohibitive for someone just starting out bootstrapping. But Traffic Planet Hosting is actually cheap enough and the performance is amazing. And we tested this very, very in depth. The performance is really good, and it's cheap enough for pretty much anyone to start with.
Right, thanks for that. So I'm going to put one of my websites in mailwrite.com.
All right.
And don't be too vicious.
All right. See, all right. Okay, so the first problem here is the font used for the phone number and for the title, or the main title, right? So this is a font with a strong character, but it's not great for readability, right? It's also not great that you can see that the letters are very close together. They like merge together, and it's all caps. And so this is not great for readability. But okay, you're using them in headings. You're not using it a lot. So it's better. It's better than if you had this as the body text. That would be bad. But then again, if we're talking about design, this is another thing, like an easy thing anyone can learn essentially about typography and design on the site. If you look at how many different fonts, font colors, and font weights are being used just above the fold, we have 2 different fonts, colors, and styles and sizes, or styles in that navigation at the top. Then we have 1 in the logo. Then we have 1 in 2 different colors and 2 different sizes for the phone number and the heading. Then we have what looks like 2 different weights and 3 different sizes of the same font for the subheading, the first paragraph and the second paragraph, and 3 different colors here as well. And basically, the more font sizes, styles, weights, and colors you mix, the more chaotic it looks. And we also have another one on the board, on the picture on the board that the girl is holding. So the more of these things you mix, the more chaotic it will look. And in general, especially if you're not yourself a designer, if you're trying to combine more than 3 things, if you're trying to combine more than 3 fonts or 3 colors, you're probably going to get it wrong. All right. And so if you're not a professional designer, and I say this, like I emphasize this because this is something I see a lot, right? If you are listening to this, if you're not a professional designer, if people aren't paying you for your design work, and you're combining 3 different colors or 3 different fonts, and you think it looks nice, there's a 99% chance that it does not look nice and that it's not good. Okay. And I say that as someone with years and years of design experience I'm not a professional designer. I do not combine 3 colors because I'm going to get it wrong. And I have enough design experience to be able to look at it and go, yeah, that doesn't look good. So that's something, there's basically too much going on with sizes, styles, weights, and colors in the fonts above the fold. And you could make that look a lot more professional by just reducing that number.
Yeah. In my own defense, there's been a lot of changes in the actual somebody's way. Bill's way.
I'm going to open up the seat. Sorry about that. I was coughing. John Locke, we've got some really great professional WordPress folks out there who can really add to the conversation. So Kim or John Locke are going to come back up. So I'll be back in the background. If we get time, I'd like to review Timelines of Success. It definitely needs some work, one of my early websites.
Yeah, sure. So to get back to it, it basically, there's been a lot of changes in the actual product and the copywriting, and I'm going to do some more work on the copywriting and then clean up the fonts. So, like you say, at the most, there's 3. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't happy with it. I didn't think it was as bad. But you are right. You know, you've got to cut the font. You can't have loads of different fonts, can you?
Yeah, look, this is a great example of something that happens. It usually happens over time, right? People don't generally put this much different stuff on a page all at once. But it happens over time because at some point you have your navigation, you've got that set up, and you're not going to change that. But then you decide to have a different font as the paragraph font on your page. And so it's like it kind of deteriorates over time. And often as the website owner, you don't really realize that this is even happening. And that's why it's one of the good, like it's good to have like these basic rules of thumb, let's say, in your head where you're like, oh, wait a minute, do I have too many fonts here? Am I mixing too many colors? Stuff like that.
Shall we go and have a quick look at another page? Let's go to the feature page.
To the feature page. Let's see. Features. Okay. All right. So I'm seeing that I'm being interrupted by an overlay that asks me to opt in here. Yeah. My question here is this the main conversion goal? Is this the most important thing that the visitor can do on this page?
No.
Okay.
No. I want them to go forward and look a bit more, but I have to have a feature page that tells them what the program does.
All right. So if the opt-in is not the most important conversion goal on this page, then don't make it interruptive. So instead, this is one of the ways you can use exit intent. So basically make the opt-in appear when the visitor is about to leave. Yeah. That's one of the ways you can use that for a secondary conversion goal. I thought would make sense. All right, and then we have, with the heading, again, this font and font color is probably going to discourage people from reading. The agents with strong online presence make more sales. Professional websites, social media updates, reputation management, email marketing, we have it all. Okay. Yeah, there's probably, you can probably clean that up now. Okay, I think what's missing, if we look at the home page and the feature page, Agents Complete Online Sales Generation System. So what's missing here, it's too difficult to find out what exactly I'm signing up for.
Yeah.
All right. So because you're, on the one hand, you're saying a benefit, right? Agents with a strong online presence make more sales. Okay. This is on the one hand. So am I one of these agents? I don't know. My question is, if your target audience sees this, do they instantly know whether they are one of those agents or not?
It's a difficult one, Shane, because the language of the home page it's aimed at real estate agents, and the language utilised on the home page is language that most agents would recognise, but a general individual, it wouldn't really mean too much, like database, obviously somebody in Word. But most real estate agents, one of their main goals is to build up a database of all the people that they have some kind of relationship with. And so the wording of the homepage is kind of worded aimed at agents, where the feature page is more generalistic language. Did that make any sense?
Sure. Okay. Professional website, social media updates. So, okay, I would start breaking that down. Basically, the first thing I've tried to solve here is to, before you get to the sections below, where you're essentially asking the visitor to read some blocks of text. Yeah. Before that, there needs to be a better way of explaining exactly what this is about, exactly what you get. And one of the ways to do that is, if you look at the claims here, professional websites, social media updates, reputation management, email marketing, that's, as a copywriting technique to break that down, right? Professional website. Why does this specific person I'm talking to want or need a professional website? To pull some benefits out of that. Social media updates, same thing. Reputation management, same thing. And then try to make more of an amalgamation of those benefits with, what they're getting here and why they want it. Because basically it's missing. This is quite tricky, right? This is quite a tricky example, because what it's missing is what I would call the X factor. Yeah. It's not, it's not that, it's not that you're not mentioning benefits. You're mentioning a benefit in the headline. It's not like any of the easily pointable mistakes, but it's lacking that punch. It's lacking that something that makes me go, oh yeah.
Yeah, I was blind to the font, all the font changes on the homepage, because I've been working on this for over a year, and you become blind. So the homepage needs cutting down the wording. This page, yeah, I totally agree with you. But I was thinking of cutting, working on the wording, but also thinking of a video pop up that kind of really demoed the product and the service. I was thinking of that, but I'm not too sure if that's just a cop out for bad copywriting.
Well, just showing the product right away isn't going to help either, right? You have to basically be able to connect with that person, and you have to give them an idea of what you can offer. It's almost, what you kind of want to do is you want to be able to tell them the benefit camouflaged as features, right? Because everybody always talks about, you should talk about benefits and so on. But if you ask people to say, oh, just tell me what the product is about, oh, just, stop with this nonsense. Who wants to hear hype, right? Well, the thing is, you have to give people benefits, but you have to camouflage them as features. And that's a very difficult thing to do. Also, I should like trademark that. That's brilliant. Sorry if I'm just hearing myself say that. That's brilliant. Did I just invent that? I should write a book about that.
You're a clever guy, Shane. That's why you're on the show. So
I just want myself right now.
Yeah. Obviously, I want to go on to other sites, but if you don't mind having a quick look at the plans, the plan page, and then we call it a day. I'm bruised. My ego's bruised and battered, but everything Shane said is totally correct. So,
all right, boost that old tile referral database today. Okay. Let's see. Well, I mean, okay, you're hitting most of the bases here. Okay, one of the problems is that in the pricing tables, this is a classic problem. Some of the items are in all of the lists, and some of them are different in the lists. And so as the visitor here, if I start reading this and I notice, oh, the second, automated Facebook, Twitter, monthly content, automated Facebook, oh, it's the same, that discourages me from reading any of the others. And there's also no visual cue to help me understand. So, the easiest fix here is to have like the check mark or a cross, like green check, red cross next to the features, which gives me a visual cue. Oh, these are the bits that are different. These are the bits that are the same. So a very simple principle of web design and also of interface design of any kind of design like this is that having a lot of text in something like this is a lot like having no text. So I'm not talking about content, right? I'm not talking about copywriting content where you start wrapping people up in a story. I'm not talking about blog post where someone comes to read your blog post. This here pricing table is more like a user interface. And having a lot of text in a user interface is basically the same as having no text because people are just not going to read it. Right, because everybody knows there's no interesting story inside this pricing table. That's essentially the difference between content and an interface. And so you have to make it as easy as possible for me to understand the differences that you're offering here, rather than expecting me to read all of this.
Radio. More work. But that's it, folks. It's a constant more work. That's it. Thanks. So we've got one of our people that joined us for our normal monthly roundtable. Kim, how are you? Oh, you no sound, Kim.
Yeah.
No sound. You're muted.
There we go. I muted myself when we had the family interruption a minute ago.
So, all right.
I'm great. Thank you.
Got any sites that you want Shane to look at?
No, I didn't. It's not ready yet. We're still in the process. And after looking at Thrive themes, we may be changing the theme. But I did have a couple questions and a comment for you. And Shane, thank you so much. You're just like putting out gems here. I've been like putting them back into the comments, and I'll be tweeting those out because these are fantastic. And I'm going to be off to fix the pricing table I'm working on a draft page right now after this. One thing I really liked on your theme, and then I had a question about, since it's Thrive themes, I'm guessing they'll all be like that, is that your theme tabs really well, particularly across the menu. Mm-hmm. And that's something I got slammed on with some of my stuff in a accessibility review, because it's not really like yours. The way when if you want to tab, it goes right across the menu. You can see exactly where it is, which is what I want. And I'm finding that some of the themes, it is not easy to do that without me going in and reprogramming it. So since yours is a Thrive theme, if I switched over and started using those, is that something easy to do within the Thrive themes?
So are you talking about keyboard command tab?
Yes. Yeah, I am.
Yeah. So they, in terms of the structure, they're all going to be like that. Yeah.
Excellent.
Out of the box, like you don't have to, that this is the way it is. Yeah.
Okay. Because one of my big things this year is most of my sites are in horrible disarray right now. We're doing a big branding overhaul, but it's not just to make them functional and beautiful and marketing, but to make them accessible, because I got to sit down with someone at WordCamp US and I really had some issues with that. So I liked what I'm seeing there, and thank you for that answer.
Excellent. I also want to quickly say, by the way, you say, oh, your website is not ready for me to look at. And so one of the things, and this is one of the principles, when I do a website review, I don't hold back, right? I just talk about it. And people often think like, oh my God, don't look at my website, it's not ready yet, and so on. You know what would be the worst thing ever is if I look at your website and I go, oh, I have nothing to add. Like, what's the use in that, right?
Right.
Like, you gotta publish stuff. You gotta publish stuff. And I could do that to my own website as well, by the way. Right? I can go through my website and tell you 1,000 things that are wrong with it. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I feel like this kind of fear of, it's not ready yet. No, just publish it. Well, publish your rubbish website. And
it's published. I just put the link in there.
Sure.
It's just, I'm supposed to be a web developer. I should have a better website.
Yeah, but we all feel like that.
But beyond also, I think the factor is that you get so engrossed in something that you don't see the tree amongst the forest, really. You become semi-blind to the obvious.
The biggest problem with software development as well is you become completely disconnected from your user, because you know everything about your product. It's the hardest thing to see your product from the perspective of someone who doesn't know your product, right?
It's painful. It's painful.
Okay, so I put my link in the side. You can go you can go look at it. It's howtobuildanonlinecourse.com.
All right. So shall I run through a couple of points there?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so first thing I noticed, so howtobuildanonlinecourse.com, the logo does not work because it's not readable. So one of the primary rules of a logo is it has to be scalable, right? It has to work at every size, essentially. So what you want in this case is you want a logo and what's the right word? Pictograph or something. Basically the graphic part. And that has to be scalable. And then you have text, which is how to build an online course. And the text can be separate, so the text can scale and the image can scale separately. So that's something that needs to be fixed. Then we have a top menu, and there's a lot of menu items there, but I'd say just about, don't have any more than this. And if you can reduce them, reduce them. For example, you want to look at how many people use that contact link right there and maybe move that into the footer. You have one that's called welcome. Not sure if there should be a welcome link. Maybe that should just be home. Okay, and then we have above the fold on my relatively small screen, the only thing I see above the fold is blue background. And do you want to create an online training course, but not sure where to start? And then a button that says learn more. Now, do you want to create an online training course, but not sure where to start? First of all, I like big, fat headlines above the fold. That's really good. Big headlines above the fold. Huge fan. So let's look at the text. Do you want to create an online training course, but not sure where to start? So one question is, are you addressing the biggest pain point using the words that your clients use to describe the biggest pain point? Because I feel like, do you want to start an online course or create an online training course? You're doing a good job of honing in on the specific person, but not sure where to start. I feel like there must be a bigger problem or a stronger wording for that problem, because it should hurt me a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. It should be something that goes, oh, yes, I do have this problem. Damn it. Whereas this is like, yeah, I guess I'm not sure where to start, or maybe I am. I'm a bit indifferent about it. And then the call to action on the button is learn more. I like how the button animates on hover, by the way. That's quite nice. Learn more. The button doesn't have more contrast than anything else on the page. So in terms of visual hierarchy, there's a bit of competition, for example, between the colorful share buttons and this relatively shy button here. But also the wording learn more, is that what I want? Do I want to learn more? Because the last time I had to learn more was in school, and I hated school. And so do I want to learn more, or do I want to discover a solution, or do I want to take the next step, or do I want to start now? So again, I think stronger wording would be possible. And then, shall I keep going? I don't know. What are we doing here?
I'm loving this. I'm taking notes. I don't know if you're watching that.
All right. Okay, so then we scroll down. We have 3 icons. What is your best courseware option? Is content creation daunting, and do the promises seem like hype? The headings are not clearly visible as headings. So we've got text below that, which is the font is nice and readable. The contrast could be greater. The line height is fine, but the headings here are these, whatever the headings in these 3 columns are barely distinguishable from the paragraphs. So that's something where you want to make that stand out a bit more. Using a question mark to represent courseware is not great. The other 2 make sense, kind of, the other 2 icons, but the question mark is not a great communicative icon. And I'd also maybe look at trying to, get better designs for these icons, something that stands out a bit more. Then I hope that these 3 points they should be based on user research, right? This should be the 3 things that are most important or the biggest problems for your in your target market in the order of how they're the problem. So what is your best courseware option should be the way your users ask this question. It should be the first most commonly asked question, and otherwise this is in the wrong place. And the same is true for the others. Now, I don't know much about this market, so I'm not going to make any assumptions here. Okay, then we have a bio, which I believe you could have a better image there because it's, it's kind of a dark, low contrast image. I can't really see the person very well. So I think there could be a better image there. And this is something I would experiment with in the layout. Is it's possibly too soon to tell people about you because, or just also there's no real segue into that. I feel like at this point I'm still kind of getting to know what this is about. Now I'm learning about a person who I have no reason yet to be interested in. So maybe that's too soon on the page. And then we get to sign up for free classes. Now, let me see what happens if I click on Learn More, actually.
It goes to a sales page that was taken down and is being put back up today. So you're not really going to see much there today. The original sales page was taken down, and it's being uploaded today after we're done.
All right, and sign up for free classes. Basically, yeah, okay, that's something that should be tested because it's a bit. I don't know if this works. If the first call to action is go here to buy something, and then the second call to action is if you didn't want that, maybe sign up for something for free. That can work, but it should be tested. So you need to be sure that you're testing the option of having of basically putting everyone through that funnel. Like step 1, sign up for this thing, and then I'm going to sell you something, versus having this mix. And also, maybe it's better to ask the opt-in first and offer the course second. That's just stuff that you definitely should be testing, because those are big changes that can make, like changes to your whole funnel that can end up making quite a big difference. So that's stuff that I would definitely test. All right.
Right. Thanks for sharing. I think it's good. We've got another guest here who's been waiting patiently. I think we're giving Kim enough homework to do.
You've given me plenty. Thank you so much, Shane.
You've given me enough homework, Shane. But so, Larry, what website would you like us to look at?
So I'm going to drop a link to the development version. So it's on Heroku.
Okay.
So it's like not the live version, but
Here we go.
I'm not going to explain much. I just want to see if it makes sense.
Yep. All right. Health Funded. Discover today's cutting-edge research and help advance tomorrow's breakthroughs. That's all I'm seeing about the fold, all right? Now, discover today's cutting-edge research and help advance tomorrow's breakthroughs. This is very vague because it's also missing punctuation, which can be very for some people that's very difficult to deal with.
It is.
So discover today's cutting edge research. What kind of research in what field and why do I care? And help advance tomorrow's breakthroughs in what and what exactly? So basically, this does not tell me what's happening on this website. And the image doesn't contribute at all. It doesn't help me. I mean, I don't know. I guess this is maybe a poor person, but I actually don't know. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe this has something to do with poverty or maybe with health. I'm not sure. But I don't know. Basically, at this point, this website could be about almost anything. Okay. Vote to decide research you'd like to advance, learn more, Get a weekly. So now I've scrolled down a bit. Get a weekly summary of the best research delivered to your inbox. Again, listen, you have to tell me about what field of research, right? Because the only clue I have is that the logo says health funded. But even there, it's not health research because that's not a thing, right? Is it medical research? That's a damn wide field. So it must be more specific than that, and you've got to tell me about what it is. And then when it says vote to decide research you'd like to advance, okay, there's learn more is the next thing, but you need to explain more about what this does. And this is a difficult thing because basically my attention span is about one sentence. Or, well, let's be generous. My attention span is about 2 sentences. And you have to do a much better job of explaining what's going to happen here in 2 sentences. What you basically want to do is write out the whole explanation, explain the whole thing, and probably, I've got to click on learn more now to see what happens, how it works. Health Funded is a medical research discovery platform. Health Funded surfaces promising medical research through community curation. Okay, this is getting a bit more clear. So scientists submit research. This community votes. Selected projects are funded. Okay. There are about 20 years worth of potentially life-saving treatments sitting untested because of flaws in traditional research mechanisms. This directly impacts 30 million Africans suffering from 7,000 different rare diseases, of which less than 5% of effective treatments, and many others were left hoping for breakthroughs that may not come in time. All right, so here we're starting to get to what this website is about. And what you have to be able to do is you have to first be able to write a long explanation of how this works that is clearer than this. All right, and you have to get some people who can review this, who can read through this and tell you how clear it is. And so you basically have to find people who are capable of giving you real honest feedback and not just saying, yay, you built the website, well done. And then you have to be able to boil that explanation down into 2 sentences, and that needs to go on the homepage. So even this, there's 20 years worth of potentially life-saving treatments sitting untested. With your help, we can get benefit for 30 million Americans something, okay? That could be the first thing people read on the as a headline on the homepage, and that will make it a lot clearer to start with. But yeah, action points. Number 1, make a long explanation of how this works and work on that until it's actually clear for people who've never heard of this before, and then work on boiling that down into the most important points to put on the homepage. That is all.
Was that helpful, Larry?
Yeah, it was very helpful. Took a lot of notes, and I will.
See, I think it sounds a very interesting thing that you're involved with. I totally agree with Shane. I think the second page, if you wrote it out a bit more, I think some of the changes are only minor, but I think you need a bit more text on that home page, and it needs to be really honed. And Shane's right, I'm terrible about spelling mistakes, and other people just go potty if the grammar isn't spot on. They just won't read it, will they, Shane?
Yeah.
They just spell out straight away. So you just got to get. And the other thing, it's a bit like the graphics, isn't it, Shane? After you're looking at it a long time, you just don't even start seeing the spelling mistakes, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of this stuff requires distance. One of the most difficult things to deal with. Yeah, it's the curse of knowledge, right? Once you know something, it's possible to remember what it's like not to know that thing.
Okay.
All right, and Larry, I'm going to let the seat go out, but thanks. Hopefully that was helpful.
Thank you.
We've got another one, if you don't mind, Shane.
I'm running out of battery. Yeah.
Thought you were running out of Burstal juice. Maybe we can have a quick look at one. This one here.
Coffee help.
No, he's
No,
back.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Laptop battery.
Do you see this
they
one?
still have to crank their electricity.
Because Ian David's been put some good comments, so if we can have a quick, can you see it? The cog box.
Yeah.
Just a quick before your battery goes.
Yeah, go ahead and we'll look at that one. Just glance at. Yeah.
All right.
Good show, Shane. By the way, I'm really looking forward to re-listening to it. And when I edit, I listened to it a couple times. So excellent show. Thank you. We'll have to have you back. We also need. We'd like any other designers you recommend we pull up on the show, because this is what we do Saturday morning.
So what do you think of it so far then, David?
Let me finish that, because his batteries. Anybody you recommend we contact?
Actually, off the top of my head, I'm not sure for this specific topic who I can recommend.
Yeah, because my question is, I've got like 21, 22 sites, and I do them fast, and I'm trying to go to the next level. One thing that I have difficulty finding is a really good designer. I mean, somebody who just focuses on design.
Yeah, it's very difficult to find.
I can recommend you somebody, Bill.
Who?
He's based in Reno. I think he's excellent.
Someone here?
So,
Who?
Yeah.
Really? I've only been here a few years.
There you go.
Well, I've been asking.
So, what do you think of this?
Say who he is.
It's David Evans.
David Evans. Okay. Why haven't we have David on the show?
I don't know. But he's a graphic designer. He does web work, but he's more graphic and print. But he's excellent. So what do you think of this site then, Shane? David Van Connection Stylish.
The Connection Stylist. So okay. One of the things I'm noticing is that it doesn't scale very well. So you've got a problem that the basically got 2 bits of text on this page above the fold, where it's make better connections so you can work less and make more sales, impact more lives, enjoy the thrill of entrepreneurship. Okay, one problem is it's the first time I'm learning that it's about entrepreneurship, or it's for entrepreneurs. And this is in an image. And then next to it, we have one to create raving fans. Sign up below for my 4-part video series where I walk you step by step through the process. Raving fans. Now, the bit on the side is actual text, which means it will be better to scale on mobile devices, for example. But that's the bit that disappears. And the text that's actually part of the image stays visible, and that gets really small on smaller screens. It's not ideal. So that's something that should be fixed. What's missing is a clear big headline. So if you look at the visual hierarchy here, we have this text on the image, then we have the want to create raving fans, then we have to sign up for my free part video training. They all command about the same amount of attention. And so I would try to replace all that with one big headline at the top that tells me, like, what am I doing? So it's better connections. What kind of connections? Raving fans. That's very different, because better connections makes me think of networking and stuff like that. Whereas raving fans is more like, that's my audience, my Twitter followers, my blog audience, stuff like that. So which is it? And if I read all of this text here, I still don't know what this free 4-part video training is. So the most important thing to fix here is to communicate much more clearly what this is, who it's for, and why I want it and why I need it. All right, and I really am running out. This is about to die.
All right, Shane, I think we better say goodbye to you, but please come back on the show when you're available. And you've provided such value, and thank you for your insights on Melaugh. I will be getting on, but yeah, you just got to keep on working on it and working on it and working on it.
Sure.
You?
I'll do.
Hey, Shane, you're welcome back anytime. I really appreciate your expertise and excellent knowledge base.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
It's a treat. Thank you. Enjoy. Get that battery charged. Hey, folks, remember you can go to Impact Themes. It's Impact Themes. That's your best website, right?
No, Thrive Themes.
I mean, Thrive. Impact.
Thrive
Themes or impact.com. Thrive.
Buy his product.
But you can go from Impact too. From Thrive.
Yes. Buy my stuff.
Buy my stuff, please.
That's your.
It's my call to action. Yes.
That's your words. Buy my stuff.
Buy my stuff, please.
Very good. And Jonathan, you're at WP-Tonic.com. And we didn't talk about DigitalOcean today, which we could have. And
it's okay, but it's just, Shane's got the people that he recommends. But the main point, folks, when it comes to hosting is shares hosting. It depends what you're trying to do, but I've found if you can get off shared hosting and get onto something a bit better, you're going to have a more nicer experience, basically, aren't you?
And Shane, if you want to jump off, we can finish it up. We're going to put a little piece in about what's on next week.
Cool.
And
see you later.
Well, see you guys.
Thank you, Shane.
Bye.
Appreciate it. I really appreciate your time. Jonathan, it's really a privilege to have Shane on, looking at his site and going back. I'll re-listen to this and pick a lot of work up. We did have some sites that we didn't get into. John Locke might want to come up and just go over that.
Yeah, come on, John. He's been trying to join us.
John, let's see what's wrong with your site. We can look at your site. That site you wanted to look at, is that one of your sites or one you're building right now? Turning Heads looks kind of nice.
Yeah, let's have a look at Turning Heads.
Turning Heads. Let's see. I don't know.
Graphic
what did I
design
just do? So a lot of fancy stuff, a lot of colors in there. But anyway, appreciate Shane.
It might be somebody he's recommending to you, Bill.
For design. Yeah, I want to find a group of designers. First of all, you need to look at as a business guy, you need to look at least 3 people who are doing design if you're going to bring them into your team. I mean, I think I've got pretty good fundamentals now about my websites.
No, but I'll send David Evans' phone number and email, and you can.
I Googled him.
Yeah, he's a great designer.
I think I found his.
He helps me on a few projects.
So you just hand over to Dave, and I'm going to try to pull, interview several people. But I'm looking for a designer left and right, and we have a lot of contact, and it just seems like it's difficult to find somebody who really knows what they're doing in design.
He's not cheap, but he's not ridiculously expensive. I think what you've got to remember, Bill, is if they have to spend a lot of time doing a lot of mock-ups for you because you haven't got a clear idea of the design that you're looking for with some slight modification, they're going to have to do a lot of mind mapping and do a lot of mock-ups, and that takes up a lot of hours, and every hour they're working on it, they're billing you. So the more you can have a clear idea of what you want and the basic look, but not start telling them what to do, but give them some clear guidance of what you're looking for, and then they can do a couple of mock-ups and you choose one. It's when it goes on and on and on, and you're on the 6th, 7th mock-up. Well, David's quite happy to do that, but the bill starts knocking up.
Now, just taking a piece of paper though and sketching out your pages really fast, I can see how that would work. I did that in design build construction all the time. I used to take, even though I'm really good at computers and AutoCAD and systems, I would go with my client and I'd sketch out really fast sort of the bubbles of what the house was going to look like. The bedrooms, just circles, and then square them up and then sketch, because I can sketch very fast. So you could do the same thing with a website. The thing is, you have to understand those principles of how that theme hooks in with the art.
Yeah. Just to finish off with David Volkvan site is, when you really think about it, some of the key bits he's got are very similar to Shane's Impact website, but they're just not honed to the same level. And even though Shane said that he hadn't really looked at his own, it's just a blog site. He's trying to build his email list, but he's not actively. You could tell by the copy and the key elements that they just work a bit better. But the good news, David, is I think one of the main problems is when you make the website smaller on a mobile device, this main image is not that responsive. I think if you just look at Shane's website and you adapt this theme so it's a bit more you're gonna get a lot better conversion, and you're gonna be more satisfied. Basically, did that make sense, Bill?
A little bit. I'm just focusing on something else. Just looking at our folks. Hey, we want to thank everybody who came in today. We had 182 people come in. Shane Purdy, good to see you out there. I'm waiting for you to come on the show, by the way. I do a daily podcast, and I think in a couple of weeks. So you got to come out. We're going to call you out here. I have to come on Timelines. Do that podcast.
I'd like to say something about the Turning Heads website.
You want to say that? Yeah, and then we'll finish up. That'll be the last one, and then let's tell about what's next week and what's coming up in our shows. We have Meet the Voter tomorrow night.
Good question. So, yeah, this, it's got portfolio. Obviously, it's a design website, web branding, much more print pack. I do like it. You can tell that a lot of work's gone into this website, and it is the problem, Bill, is that graphically, the font choices, the artwork is very attractive. One of the problems with these type of portfolio sites is how do you really differentiate yourselves from a host of other portfolio? Obviously, the obvious answer to that question is, it'd be the standard of work we show, and obviously that has to be a key point.
Yep.
But I think you got to delve in something a bit extra. Obviously, if you go to the clients, they've got some, we're going to use impressive clients, but obviously you've got established businesses that use this design house. Then you've got awards, and it's very attractive and it's very professional. But like I say, and it's not an attack on this particular website. I think it's a generalistic problem. How do you effectively differentiate yourselves from the norms of a design agency portfolio website?
Yeah, one thing on the site, when I go down into the fat footer down at the very bottom, yeah. I think you'd be better using that as a quick examples and links instead of just having it sort of a call out number, because I want to click on stuff. And nothing's working, like flyers.
Thanks for pointing out, Bill. I didn't see that. You're totally spot on. But what's your initial feelings about it as a consumer kind of podcaster?
I was trying to learn from Shane, and it's pretty. It's got a lot of color with it. I guess different people, different strokes for different folks. But I was trying to think about Shane. I'll get a cough here a second, so hold. I'm going to do some voiceover work this afternoon. My voice is starting to go. This is bad. Anyway, looking at it, I'm looking at it right now. It's a pretty site. I mean, it's a modern site. And, my sites really suck compared to these. I've got 20 some odd sites, but they're designed for podcasters. And they're designed for the blog. And they're not designed. Yeah. I'm thinking about taking one of my sites and at least making a normal landing page for the front page.
Well, Thrive Themes, it enables you to build landing page rapidly, and I would highly recommend it to people, not only because Shane's been on the show, it does what it says, and it's WordPress, and it's a good value solution, folks. So definitely, it's not aimed to build your whole website with, folks, but what it can do, these kind of key landing pages pop. It helps you build those out and test them, and then you can code them up more individually if you choose to. You need to try the product and you see where I come from, folks. And the thing is, they provide a library of kind of not only they provide some themes, folks, but also they provide kind of little snippets which you can drag into the pre-designed theme that allows you, that have been optimized by Shane and his team. So hopefully you can see why Shane really knew what he was talking about I think that was a great point you made there, Bill, because the portfolio site, Turning Heads, very attractive, but it's lacking in some of the key things that Shane talked about. Oh, you've cut your sound off, Bill. All right. Can you say?
Thank you, Jonathan. At least the recording's going. I'm doing better at that. By the way, that's my one thing. There we go. We have a little poor integration there, but we'll see if he comes up.
That way, somebody that's got a poor internet.
I always like to look at the Twitter account. So he looks like a fairly new, but if it can, he's out. Anyway, talking about Shane, I really liked Shane's, work principle. And I think I see that now after a lot of interviews, and I see it myself, especially on this online digital world. When you start, everyone talks about life balance. Well, maybe sleep and work. You need some of that to get going because you have to get momentum.
You got to get.
And I see this. We started a business. My wife and I started businesses, as you know, when we were in our 30s. They're fairly successful. And then the war broke out and things changed our lives. But I'm restarting a business and I'm doing something completely different. She is too. And the bottom line is you have to put the work and hours in. My wife right now was a very, very successful real estate agent in California. She's restarting in Nevada. But right now, our kids are 13 and 15 and very big in gymnastics. And she's in Long Beach right now with them at a meet. She can't be building her business. And I'm here, building this business. And I wish I had more money like I used to have because I would contract out more stuff too. But then you can lose a lot of money. We've talked about that. We know someone who came in who doesn't know WordPress who lost about $40,000 trying to set up an online.
Well, he didn't,
he hasn't lost. He's still working on it.
But what I think the other thing you've got to be aware of, folks, is there's a lot of really good graphic designers that are good on print, but when it comes to what Shane pointed out, depends on what type of business and the business level you're at. There's not that many kind of graphic designers that normally doing a lot of print work that understand the fundamental difference of hierarchy and layout, and when it comes to font and text, where you're transferring it to web pages, because it's a different medium. It's just different, and you're gonna have somebody that understands those differences. And on my Mailwrite site, it's gone through a lot of changes, but I've gone totally blind to all the different fonts I've got on that home page, and it does affect how consciously somebody will not read the text because you've got too many font changes. So I'm going to be doing that. That won't take me a lot of work, but I was totally blind to it. The feature page, I am aware that it's not bad, but it needs refining a bit more when it comes to copy. But the main problem is the actual product wasn't kind of finished until Christmas. We've built it out considerably, and everything's been in a kind of semi-flux until just after Christmas, really, Bill, isn't it? I was still working on the core functionality of the product, wasn't I?
Yeah. Hey, Jonathan, let's tighten this up. And I'm going to try something next week. I'm going to try to find somebody who's designing political websites. So if anybody out there knows something.
Oh, we have got a guest.
We do. Who's next week?
It's a very good question.
I got the data already on that person.
Yeah,
pull it up. That's right. That's why I didn't have. She was old.
She's a social media manager for WordPress.
Let me pull up her page. We have an automatic page where people load their material.
It should be really interesting, guys. She works for a WordPress theme and plugin shop based in California. They do the Give plugin basically, which a lot of non-profits are using now. And
that's Bridget Willard.
Yeah, that's it, Bridget.
Bridget Willard. Information for next week so we can all look at it. She does a few podcasts with Water Cooler, WP Water Cooler. That's her website.
And she's the social media manager of the. And
let's look at her website for a second for next week. So she's coming on next week. Here's the person who's coming on next week, Bridget. Just pulled it off the line. I guess, I'll work for 2 weeks from now. I do want to get somebody who does political sites and talk to him because this is so exciting. So there's Bridget's site right there. I just pulled it up so you can look at it.
Yeah, it's her personal, yeah.
And that's her personal site.
Yeah.
And there's Bridget. Yeah. So she's coming on next week.
About Bridget. So if we go to Bridget.
Let's go to the ballot. We should. So she is social. Is she social media?
WordImpress is the company that she's the marketing manager for.
Guru Social.
So if you go, and their main is they do the Give plugin, which is a fantastic plugin.
What's it about?
Now it allows non-profits to take. I would imagine you can also use it for politics as well. Yeah. I would imagine this is going to be the main plugin that politicians would use to get contributions, Bill.
So you out in the Blabosphere, you can help us. Go ahead and send me anybody you like recommend that we could get up for politics or any other thing for the show too. I've got actually a link they fill out, so I'm gonna put my email in here.
Yeah.
At conrad.com. And so next week we have Bridget coming up at 9:00 on Saturday. Tomorrow on that famous, we're doing something different. I have a podcast. It's an RSS feed, and we have all these different kind of shows on the podcast. So tomorrow we go like goofy and we go into politics. We're not supposed to blend politics and business. We do it. So tomorrow's politics. Jonathan's a socialist.
Well,
he's one of the moderators.
I'm a democratic Christian socialist.
Yeah, I'm the conservative Republican.
God knows what
I'm not a Trump supporter, though.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll be
I'm not going to respond to you. You would have poisoned.
We're destroying our audience right now.
You just destroyed our audience right now.
6 o'clock.
Last week they wouldn't listen.
Meet the voter, and that's one of my. That's one of the pages I created. Meet the voter. And by the way, you didn't mention DigitalOcean.
Yeah, it's great. I love DigitalOcean.
I wish I hadn't done that secure socket on that site. Can I take that off?
Yeah, of course you can.
Work.
Why? Because you're only going to take payment there.
No, that's on. That's true. I could keep. Well, I use like Stripe or my favorite Infusionsoft. I'm getting closer. I don't know if I'll.
Well, you need if you're using Stripe, you need the secure
socket. That's right. So I've been using Infusionsoft, but I might actually.
I thought you promised me you weren't going to swear.
I know, but I might leave Infusionsoft this month and just stick with Stripe and. You've seen
the light. Maybe you've seen the light, folks.
I'm going back. I'm looking at watching every dollar, and one thing about once you get going in a digital platform for about $500, you can run a pretty robust company. That's using with your allowances and stuff, and half of that for me is 200. Actually, I've got an add-on, so $260 a month is just going to our Infusionsoft friends, and there are a lot of tools that can do the same thing as Infusionsoft for a lot less.
Don't get me wrong, folks. Infusionsoft, I kind of bash it a little bit. I think if you're at the right level, the right size, it's a perfect tool if you're at a certain size of online company, especially if you've got multiple mailing lists and you've got a professional copywriter you're working with and you're doing a lot of drip marketing campaigns and you... At the right level, it's the right tool.
It has problems integrating. I mean, literally, if you look at how other things integrate so much easier than it integrates, and the add-ons, I'm looking at learning I'm launching a little course this week, and learning LMS and sites, and everything else is really inexpensive to hook up and integrates. But Infusionsoft, they want an extra $400 to integrate it on the site. Like, where does that come from?
Well, they're there to make money, aren't they?
And it's from I'm not going to use that in the other platform, other membership site that I'm looking at is not working. We could be talking about membership sites to the nth degree, but that's not the purpose. We're in design this month. So I love this format, though, and we'll talk about specific areas. We'll come back in the next month.
But Shane was fantastic.
Yeah, he's been on twice. He's really good.
Top notch. He knows his internet. See, folks, I'm not trying to be disparaging.
Up there too.
I'm not being disparaging, folks, but there's a lot of people that so-called online marketing gurus.
Yeah.
And they don't freaking know anything.
Jonathan, we started a new show on Fridays. I interview for Timelines 3 days a week now. And then on Thursday, we have the real estate show with Hooks from your company. Then on Friday, I started a new show. It's a test show. And everybody, I died doing this show, but it's called the Weekly Scam. Weekly SKAM. Weekly. Did I spell it right? Weekly.
You must really name your Sunday show.
SKAM.com. So it's a weekly scam. So we have politics on Sunday night. And on Friday, we have the weekly scan. I don't know how long the weekly scan is going to last. The numbers will prove out. I feel like Goofy doing it. This is the weekly scam.
And what does the weekly scam cover?
Yesterday, I only put yesterday's show as Timelines. You can listen to it because this is the first show. And is Mike still up there? This is like Mike's idea. Mikey's idea. Let's get it. I'm going to put here it is.
I'm still asking you what.
You know what? The best thing to do is just listen to the first part. I did it fast last night. I like the sounds. My favorite part about the show are the sounds effects I put in there.
Oh, God.
Check it, John. Review my site. Check my website out, and we'll look at it. Just hit it. The bottom line.
Right.
And I got both of those. Weekly Scam. I just made that really fast. That's my Genesis Dynamic Quickie. That's the Weekly Scam, and then that's the Weekly Scam. It sounds pretty good, though. I think we're going to do a few shows, and one thing I did different, if you look, as I finish up, we didn't review any of my sites, but one thing I did on the weeklyscam.com, and this is kind of fun. I did this probably in a couple hours. I used Genesis Dynamic, and I just set up home. I set up Twitter link, YouTube, and Facebook. And I started I started with a Gmail address, and then I created everything around the Gmail address for the social media content. I just want
to finish off, folks, as a kind of recap of what I think we've learned with Shane's help. The monthly theme is WordPress and graphics, folks. And I asked Shane on because I've been reading his materials, probably not enough. In my own defense, folks, that's why it's important to bring people that you respect their opinion to look at stuff you're doing, because you do become blind if you're looking at something almost every day. But apart from that, I thought Shane would be a good guest, and he proved to be an excellent guest, about this linkage of text with graphics, about how you utilize the blend of words of your text with key graphics to get people to either sign up for a newsletter or drive them to another page or buy a product or a service that you're trying to offer. You know, you're there to make money, basically. And I don't know if you agree with this, Bill. What I think Shane gave a really fantastic insight is you really got to learn this. You got to learn this, and it's not jet science, but it does need study. And if you get it, you can then really clearly see web pages, websites where the people have actually really thought about it from those that haven't. Would you agree with that, Bill?
I agree 100%. And there's so much to learn. I've been working full time for 2 years. You know that. And there's just so much to do. And there's so many different areas you can go into. But I think the next level is just getting the right people around you, whether you're the web developer like you are. You're a SaaS developer, and you've got a team of developers. And it's just that process of learning how to manage the development team. So that's another area we could talk about, but we're talking about design today. Hey, Johnson, I want to do a promo for next week.
Yeah, go on.
I want you to do it. Let's figure out how to do it. Just do a little clip. So just say, hey, next week's guest is...
What is that next week's guest?
I just brought it up. Just bring her... I've got her page up. I've got this shortcut, which is really nice.
I do apologize.
You know what? I do the daily show, and sometimes you don't mess up Shane. Shane is like a home run winner, and it's I knew it's Bridget.
Oh, it's Bridget.
Let me pull up her sheet. I can email her sheet to it. But
no, they say no. Bridget is, she's fantastic. She's written a number of excellent WordPress articles recently. And she really knows her social media, and she's working with a fantastic company, and their core plugin gift is fantastic. It's really it used to be really difficult. It was actually quite difficult to find a really good WordPress
plugin. Let me read her introduction she put in.
Yeah.
Secretary by trade, that's who she works for, a firm. Teacher by degree. We have a lot of teachers that show up on here, and marketer by instinct.
Yeah,
I started my career with office work, enhancing as a teacher, earning a teaching degree, but returned to the office where I crave out career in social media and marketing. Now the marketing manager of WordPress. So she's the marketing manager for the company, so she's corporate. And I still find my relationships marketing.
It's a small theme plugin shop, Bill, but they do.
What's the theme? The theme's nonprofit. That's right.
Their main plugin, one of their main plugins, is Gift.
That'll be good. That'll fit into the politics side too, and the politics website. Hey, let me do a promo with you, okay? And then we're going to come out the recording.
I just want to give you some more information about Bridget. if you go to her site, there's a video. Her previous employer, she talked about when the recession, it was a paper supply company, and when the recession hit, they found their sales were really hammered. And instead of giving up, she really got involved in social media about using Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. And for her own efforts, she really built the sales up considerably for that company. And it was one of the main drivers of them getting new work. So we probably, but she also has written a few articles recently about graphics, how graphics are important when you're doing posts and trying to drive traffic to those posts. So I thought it kind of mixed in the marketing, the social media, the graphics with our monthly topic, Bill.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get a little blog up ahead of time. That's very good. Hey, I'm going to do a real quick promo you want to throw in at the end. Pause for a second, and then I'm going to cut the recording. And we want to thank everybody. And, you know, this show becomes great because of the people who come up on Blab. Blab people bring more information than podcasters. Honestly, the Blab connections I get, and we get 8-to-1 on podcasting. The Blab people are the ones, it's like a think tank, and this is an amazing platform. So let me do a quick commercial. So, hey, this is just Bill and Jonathan. We're after the podcast, and we want to thank you for tuning in. And we definitely want to thank all the Blab folks who came up today. Remember, every Saturday at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern, you can find us on blab.im. Just search it. You'll see us. We'll be up towards the top. And next week, we have Bridget Willard on. And Bridget Willard has a career and loves what she does. She's coming from the corporate side and the plugins. And Jonathan, do you want to say any last words before we shut off this little promo for next week?
No, I think Bridget's going to be excellent. She's got great insights in how to drive people to your website by using social media and doing content management, producing quality articles. And hopefully she's gonna give us some real insights about how you write the right articles and how you utilize those articles to get traffic to your website, and also how she uses graphics in those articles. So I think it's going to be a great episode, Bill.
Well, thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Shane, for coming on today. Wonderful show, and thank the Blab audience and you podcasters out there too.
I hope send us some comments. Hopefully you got value from this episode.
Yep. Remember, find us at timelinesofsuccess.com and WP-Tonic.com.
Am I going to get my music, Bill?
No, I'm going to buy a new mixer. I've got,
I need my music, Bill.